Hello, welcome to today's episode. It is so good to have you here. It's really cool. I know last time I talked about how the weather is cooling off out here, but I actually noticed the other day it's almost like the air smells different just because it's almost fall. Even though it's still in the high 90s in the afternoon, the air actually has a different smell to it. It's so cool and it's so beautiful in the mornings. So I'm so excited about that. Now I just need some leaves that would change colors out here and fall off trees. It's funny when you don't see them, you want to rake a pile of leaves just to crunch them all around. And, when you live somewhere that you get to rake leaves, you kind of don't like doing that at all because it's more of a chore. To me, it just seems exciting at this point. So, but anyways, so I wanted to talk about the upcoming autumnal equinox. That actually is tomorrow, I believe. The equinox is where the days have equal amounts of sunlight and nighttime, which I mean, they're probably off by like a few minutes here and there, but overall it's the same amount of time. I got to think about how kind of cool that is where, springtime, you really start to check in with, purging things out of your house, getting your house in order. And in the fall, it's kind of like you check in with the things that you have accomplished for this year and the things that you want to accomplish in the final stretch of the year. And if you don't, that's what I wanted to talk about today is how cool is it that the autumn equinox is a balance of day and night, and it's a perfect time for you to sit and see how balanced you've been throughout the year. When you look at yourself from a holistic point of view and you assess like your mind, body, and spirit and how everything is just flowing together, do you see any sort of imbalance that's been going on? Are there any goals that you've been working on that maybe haven't come together, maybe you're towards the end of them, or goals that you've finished? How far along from the beginning of the year are you into the end of the year? And it's kind of like you're 3/4 of the way New Year's resolution time almost. I love New Year's because it's really exciting to set goals for myself, even though that's great to do every day and every month. It's great to have these goals that you're achieving. But New Year's, there's something just like brand new about the goals that you're setting almost, even if they're the same goals. There's still something different about that feeling. So fall is more of where we're checking in. And the cool thing with the fall equinox is it's a great time to just find your own balance and check in with yourself. I love the fact that it's like, right towards the end, you have about 3 months left in the year, and then you're going to start going into winter, and then you're going to start cooling down. And the end of the year is kind of when you reflect on things. I feel like the end is when you reflect on things. The early part of the year is when you start getting things together. Springtime, you start flushing things out. Summer is when you kind of buckle down if you're able to. And so fall is the final drive to the end. So I want you to think about your fall equinox and what you would like to do to assess yourself. What types of things would you like to consider that have been going on in your life and how to balance those things? Because when you find that deep check-in, like a deep clean check-in, you really start to know you start to be in a place where you have a better idea of what action to take. And when you get to that place where you have a clear idea of the action that you need to take, then it's going to be that much easier to finish out your year, to reach your goals by the end of the year, and to just feel overall more balanced. Say like you've been really frustrated and angry this year, get curious about why. Like what barriers have been coming up and challenges have been coming up that are frustrating you. If you haven't been eating very well, what are your reasons why? What's behind that? What things have been stopping you? What things have been causing you to veer off your path of trying to eat healthier? And what things come up? And how can you adjust from that? If you haven't been taking the time for your self-care, what's been stopping you? We all have kind of a story behind what's going on. And there's things that come up in our life, but it's really important to stick to the things that we're trying to do to find balance for ourselves. Self-care is such a huge thing, and so often it gets overlooked because it's almost like we forget to see that it's a necessity in our life and that it's something lovingly we do for ourselves. And a lot of times you kind of get stuck in the when I have time, I'll sit down and do this. When I have time, I'll do this, which is almost like a luxury mindset of like, oh, if I had the time, I would do the self-care. So it's kind of like the self-care is the luxury because I need to make time. I need to have the time for it. Whereas really, self-care is just as important as eating healthy or going and exercising, because you're sitting down and you're taking time for yourself. And even exercise is a form of self-care. But with self-care, it's like it's not just the physical mode. It's also things for, your mind and your spirit, and what are those things that you're doing that are going to benefit your mind, body, and spirit? What's the self-care tactics that you set aside for yourself? And if you haven't been setting aside the time for yourself, or you have a reason why you haven't been committing to the time, ask yourself what is under that. Ask yourself, why is it that I haven't been taking this time to really, truly take care of, do the loving things for myself that will help me flourish more in life? Because when you really take care of yourself, you're finding balance for yourself, and you're going to navigate through your life so much more strongly. So that's what's cool with the fall equinox, is that you get this chance to mindfully sit down and do an assessment. Assess your goals and assess your balance. Assess where you're at. And then go from there. Create your action plan of, okay, so I see the different things, the bits and pieces that kind of aren't where I would like them to be. And now I'm going to create an action plan to start filling in the cracks and filling them up so that it's that much more stronger when I finish through this year. So that I am, it's like you get your second layer of armor on to just go pummeling through and run full force into everything you dreamed of doing this year. I had some really cool goals this year, and for myself, I would say some of them actually really happened and some definitely fell to the back burner. And it's interesting too, is as we evolve in our year, you might see things changed and shifted that your goals might not actually align with you anymore. And I think that happened with me, where it was a sense of, I set these goals and some of them I accomplished. I was excited. Some I haven't accomplished and I still want to accomplish. And some of them I was like, ooh, that really doesn't feel like who I'm meant to be right now, because I've shifted. And that's the cool thing with a goal, is that they can give you guidance on something you might like to do. But as you evolve, you're opening new doors. And those doors are so exciting because you get to choose which path you want to go down. And you might see new goals that you had not thought of before until you started these previous ones. So I want you to take that into account too. What are some goals that you set this year that no longer serve that no longer align with where you would like to go? So take that, just sit down and take the time for yourself and really enjoy the time. Make a whole thing of it. Take an hour and think about it. I wrote a blog on this and I loved it because I came up with 6 different ways you can do this. I came up with a workbook you can do this with too, so that you're not just kind of like, oh, where do I start? It's more of like, hey, here's a guide to start. There's definitely different methods of the best way to assess your goals. There's definitely different methods to see how balanced you are. The important thing is to just start. Because when you do start, you're really going to be more powerful in your life. It's very empowering when you check in with yourself, and in a way, you're getting more control over the things that you would like to create in your life. And not in the sense of like wanting to control everything in your life, but the sense of control coming from a place of empowerment and moving you forward in life, because you get to choose, and that is your best form of control, is getting the option to choose what you do in your life and how you approach it. So that's all for today. I hope you have a wonderful fall equinox. I just love that it marks a period in the year that we're shifting into the final part of the year it marks the period for pumpkin spice coming out everywhere, and it marks the period of just, kind of like getting more in tune with yourself and following through and shifting as needed. So I think it's a beautiful thing. I hope you have a wonderful day and talk soon.